over the years, just with always being willing to have those conversations and find the win-win for whoever we were working with, either our customer base or even strategic partners in the industry.
What were some of those early mistakes or lessons that may have shaped how you lead today?
In the beginning, there was only two of us, so we wore every hat, right? And so that gives you like a real different understanding of your business and the operation.
Do they leverage your product? Are they somewhere in the middle? Is it bridging the gap, out of curiosity?
What I do is look at what a company is doing and see how that brings value to others in their value net.
We are live, and we have today Kerriann Catlaw from Proxy DME. Kerriann, thanks for joining today. We are live, and we have today Kerriann Catlaw from Proxy DME. Kerriann, thanks for joining today.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome.
Perfect. Well, for anyone who doesn't know you and doesn't know Proxy DME, can you let us know a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and a little bit about your company?
Sure. The short of it is I've been in the DME industry for over 25 years and launched a consulting company in 2019 after I sold my DME company named OrthoCare. We're based in New England. I'm based out of New Hampshire today. And primarily what Proxy DME does today is we consult across the entire healthcare ecosystem relative to DME. So whether it's a DME provider, whether it's a full IDN where we do an assessment to look at the cost impact, look for revenue generating opportunities for medical practices or hospitals, whether it's working with manufacturers or, larger DME suppliers.
That's great. And you know, like you said, you've been in this industry for 20 plus years, from founding OrthoCare to now leading your company now. What's the thread that really connects it all for you?
Is wanting to really, I would say over the years, because I didn't come from a business background, I came from academia. And so landed in this.
Speaking of which, I noticed that you went to Brooklyn, or you taught at Brooklyn College, is that right?
I did, yes.
Yeah. My wife went to Brooklyn College, so I noticed
no
that
way.
there.
Yeah. Great.
We're New Yorkers,
my sister lives in Brooklyn now, and boy, it has transformed since the days when I taught there. But
sure.
Still, no better bagel any place in the world than
bagel and pizza.
Bagels and pizza, amen.
No doubt.
Yeah. So
you're in academia,
Yeah, so the common strands, like all along, was being open and willing to partner with others, or have the conversation with others across the healthcare ecosystem. So over the years, we started developing a niche in that we built relationships with hospitals. And in doing that and building on those relationships, they would then come to us with other problems that they had in the DME space. And so that gave us an opportunity to see how it worked in those spaces and really think about solutions and always offering any of our client customer base value in some way. So for example, with OrthoCare, we were in that niche ortho soft goods space that Greg and Don Joy and those companies kind of live in PacMed, where we were just servicing the stuff needed for, acute care, knee braces, things like that. And when we work with hospitals, they couldn't bill for that stuff. So then we would take on billing it for them, and they would get that associated savings. And then they would turn to us and say, well, we have this large spend on bracing on the inpatient side. Can you help us with that? And so over the years, just with always being willing to have those conversations and find the win-win for whoever we were working with, either our customer base or even strategic partners in the industry. It was always that perspective we took, not being greedy in what we were doing. And by doing that, it really gave me a lot of experience and insight into really how DME operates not just as a DME provider.
Kerriann, we've touched on OrthoCare a few times. Can you take us back to 2004 when you founded the organization? What was going on in your life around that time that led you to actually start the business, being that you sound like you started your story in academia?
Yeah. I had a feeling that would come up.
Yeah, we love to figure out how people got into DME because the common theme is everybody stays in DME, which is awesome, but we like to hear how people got into it.
Yeah. So again, coming from academia and it's specifically in sports medicine, I just happened to be going out to a lunch with a friend of mine and her CEO, who was the CEO of OrthoRx at the time. Have you guys ever heard of OrthoRx?
Maybe. There's a lot of
Familiar.
orthos and a lot
They
of
all kind of
RXs,
sound the
so-
same, right?
Long time ago, and they were owned by OrthoFix and HealthSouth, actually. And this woman tried to convince me at lunch that I would be perfect to be their sales rep for their company in New Hampshire. And I was like, I don't do sales. She's like, well, but I had all these relationships with all the orthopedic surgeons, right? Being in sports medicine and having them be coming in and being part of the team. So she had me do like this little exercise, and then she offered me a job. And it was happenstance of where I was personally, professionally, that I took this leap into the private sector, because most people don't do that. And when you're off in academia, it's a pretty good gig. But I took this leap of faith. And then interestingly, a year later, HealthSouth went through their mess. And so their interest in OrthoRx was bought out by a financial group. And then they decided the first thing they were going to do is I got laid off and shut down the New Hampshire region. So they only had one location at the time. So then I had the local support of the physicians and a local healthcare entrepreneur who came to me and said, well, would you want to start your own? We'd support you if you want to start your own DME company. And so that's what I did. I knew nothing about business. I had less than a year under my belt in the industry, but I had to go at it. So I actually went to NEMED. It was called NEMED at the time. The New England Medical Equipment Dealers Association is now called HOMES. I went to their meeting, and then I sat at the lunch table with the women that just got the Best Company of the Year award and just started asking them lots of questions. And that's how I first found our software. The best part was we started OrthoCare with $70,000 in capital and then grew it to 7 locations,
Wow.
52 employees, and $15 million in revenue. So it was a great story. We started in a server room closet, right?
That is a great story.
110 degrees in there. Me and my first employee, Ryan Storza, who stayed with me all the way till just recently. He left to go to Hangar. But yeah, it was a great story that hard work, and honesty can pay off.
That's awesome.
So it started in 2004. When did you have your exit?
I had my exit 2019 is when I sold, and then I stayed
Gotcha.
for 3 years on after.
Gotcha. Very cool. And all this, and that was your kind of first stab into entrepreneurship.
Yes.
That's
Not
awesome.
bad. Well done. That's great.
You love to hear it.
And we were up against some monsters. So in the New England region, and it's very, very much a good old boys club. But the academic side of it really worked to my advantage when things started to change in healthcare. So these guys, this one company who had pretty much the hold on the entire market, they were in the OR with the doctors. They had their ears. They had basically a club. They had club Red Sox seats, Bruins seats. It was really tough to compete with. But we started, one of our first RFPs we went after was Mass General. And I just added in a lot of that educational piece. This was going to be the patient experience and a lot of the education around that. And we created like DVDs. And I mean, this was a big thing in 2004. DVD instructions for patients to be able to have. And so, and then as things shifted and rules came into play, like you couldn't even give a pen anymore, we had this ear of the administrative side, and that helped us like break into the market.
That's great. Obviously, like we said, you came from a different space, so there's probably a lot to learn along the way. What were some of those early mistakes or lessons that may have shaped how you lead today?
Yeah, so pretty much in most of my engagements today, I basically started by saying, I've made all the mistakes. This is how that I know how to best help you. Boy, in the beginning, there was only two of us, so we wore every hat, right? And so
Right.
that gives you like a real different understanding of your business and the operation. And then I became good friends with the software. It was acquired a long time ago, Popware. I became good friends with the guy who developed that and programmed that. He owned his own DME, and then he decided just to design software for that DME. He sold his DME off, and then he took Popware and grew it to be, number two in the market, and then Bright Tree acquired it.
On that note, we can fast forward to Proxy Health. So you built Proxy DME and then spun up Proxy IQ, the SaaS platform. What was the problem you saw in the market that made you say, I have a fix for this?
Yes, so no experience whatsoever in the SaaS market, but I did have extensive experience doing assessments for hospital networks. And like one of our clients is Vizient, so we're a subject matter expert for them in a lot of these engagements. And so when we were trying to put solutions in place for the hospitals to try and fix what would be called like a bill-only experience for them, the easiest way to explain it is an O&P company has to come in and provide a TLSO brace for a patient who's there for an inpatient stay. So they covered under Medicare Part A. There's not a traditional requisitioning process around that or PO process. So a lot of that information doesn't live in the hospital's ERP. And then you have a disconnect between what's happening clinically. It's very similar to medical devices. So clinically, orders being requested and placed, the braces being brought in and fit, and then the vendor's invoicing, and then the PO is created, and there's nothing to vet it or anything like that. So we tried extensively to try and utilize the hospital systems to create their own sort of integration and vetting around this, and never can get it over the finish line. I mean, the EMRs and the ERPs are designed to be able to talk to each other, but there's just so many hurdles for that to happen, and we can just never get it there. So then we decided, let's create it. And then in creating it, it actually became more of a great tool for the O&P providers to utilize to show their value to the hospital networks. It tracks communication, because interestingly, there's a lot out there going on. Parachute's been out around with a lot of other platforms to navigate case management orders for DME that's needed outside of the hospital walls, but there's nothing in the O&P space to handle what's going on inside the hospital wall.
Interesting.
So this becomes like a tool too that, if a hospital and most of the orders go into the O&P, more than 50%, and it's probably much more than 50%, phone or fax today.
Yep, I believe that.
A lot of miscommunication, right? And then it's going to fall on the O&P that they didn't deliver in time. And then that's going to increase length of stay. And so the platform's designed to track that order all the way through in the process, like how everybody says the domino, tracking your domino pizza. the order comes, is faxed over, comes into the system. The O&P provider sees it, they confirm receipt, so there's that instant communication between the two, and then you can see it across the process, and then the invoicing is captured within it as well. So it takes this like essential book of business, it manages it for both the hospital side and the O&P side.
Interesting. And I was looking on your website. I saw Aeroflow. We're mostly on the more like traditional DME side with the patients at home. How do you guys work with a company like Aeroflow, for example? Do they leverage your product? Are they somewhere in the middle? Is it bridging the gap? Out of curiosity.
Yeah, so a lot of my engagements on the DME side, or the majority of them, I would say, are more around strategy.
Gotcha.
And what I do is look at what a company is doing and see how that brings value to others in their value net, right? So it's easy to look at, hey, in the market, these are my competitors, and right, what am I going to do, like, compared to them to be different? It's another thing to just look at, like, more your complementers in the market, and how can you capitalize on those types of relationships by finding win-win opportunities to bring value. So say there are certain companies, like an Aeroflow, where I can sell their product to an insurance payer all day long, just because of who they are and what they're doing today and what they're kind of capturing in this space. To me, I've watched Aeroflow. They came into this market in Connecticut, New England. And that was probably about 9 years or so ago. I was like, who's this Aeroflow? Where are they coming from? And then I started sniffing. I'm like, oh, Asheville, North Carolina. And then I ended up connecting with one of their reps, met with them. And then over the years, I just kind of kept in touch with them. They really they have been the most innovative in this space from a DME provider perspective. They successfully have marketed to the consumer in this space. And that brings, when you can get that type of engagement, it's impressive. It's not just impressive, it's extremely valuable to like payers and others in the ecosystem.
Absolutely. And it sounds like Proxy Health blends the consulting and the tech. How do you personally balance those two worlds?
That's a good question. They feed off of each other, that's for sure. I spend the majority of my time on the consulting side, just with I have large engagements with bigger networks like Optum and systems like that. So that takes up a good chunk of my time. We, on the Proxy side, brought on a month ago one of my former employees at OrthoCare, who was just a rock star. I was excited. He was in between jobs, so he came on, is going to be our sales person and really go after it. So I'll be happy to be in the position where I'm supporting his efforts. But it's been exciting. I mean, it's very new. I know there's nothing else in the market right now. We're not a parachute. We're not similar to that. We're similar in that we'll accept orders, e-orders, but that's kind of where it stops. We're more a tool for a different side of the house, right? The O&P side of the house.
I was going to ask, Proxy IQ is kind of positioned as like this sort of game changer in O&P, and what really sets it apart from other SaaS players or AI players in the DME space right now?
There's no one has this type of platform today. So we're first to market. That's the biggest thing. There are many different types of platforms out there that are trying to handle the workflow and documentation process through AI capabilities and things like that, like notation and these other different bolt-ons that are out there. But there's absolutely nothing that is addressing like this interaction between the O&P side and the hospital network side and managing all aspects of that. It's extremely manual today, And it's a piece that it's very valuable to the O&Ps, those hospital partnerships, right? For their bigger practice. One of the vast, amputations, prosthetics, and things like that. And so there's never been any really KPIs that are out there that existing O&P providers can like package and show a hospital to kind of show their value in their partnership. And this collects all that data to show that. So they can provide a scorecard, and either side can see the scorecard at any time that just says, hey, on average, we receive the order within a half hour, and on average, we're delivering within 8 hours. So when hospitals are looking to make changes and save money, they may not be so inclined to push the O&P out, right? And just start buying it themselves. If they see that, hey, the O&P is still providing value, they're getting it to us. They're not the reason why that patient's delayed in discharge.
Gotcha. And quick question, is the hospital the actual client that is leveraging your software, or the O&P? Who's actually purchasing it, I guess? Is it the O&P side providing to the hospital, or the hospital using it for the O&P partners that they're working with?
That's a great question. And our entire perspective changed on this 2 months ago. So we were targeting, and it was one of those here. Oh, that's what we're talking about before, mistakes. See, I knew we'd
It all
come
comes
back.
full circle. Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Here was a mistake. If I was coming in from the outside, I probably would have seen this easily, but I was being right in it and having it right in my face. Totally missed it. We were marketing to the hospitals, and then it's really difficult because, again, sometimes it's a supply chain issue, sometimes it's a clinical issue. It's not well understood because it's like this. It's an unknown. There's not a lot of visibility, so it's very difficult. Then on the other side of it, which I deal with on a daily basis, there's no bandwidth with hospital IT projects. Their own projects are so backed up. I mean, IT is a bottleneck across the entire healthcare ecosystem. You have to move mountains to ever get any sort of integration or anything like that. So when I brought in our new director of sales, Matt Bruton, I showed him the platform, and in one 20-minute conversation, he blew the whole thing up. We were just looking at it the wrong way. He's like, this is a great tool for the O&P. The O&Ps just have to go to the hospital and say, this is how we're going to get our order. And so we were just looking at it wrong. And if I look at Parachute, I remember when Parachute first came out. I remember, they went to UVM, and UVM called me as soon as they left. And I'm like, you don't need that. And I watched Parachute over the years. And when did Parachute get traction?
When they started signing up the DME providers and letting the doctors access it for free.
And I'm like, what was I thinking?
I see exactly what you're saying.
No change to the hospital, right?
Yeah.
No change to the hospital. And then this is a customer and better, easily accessible, right? And then so what we did was we changed our development. And so we could take an eFax. So we said, we're not even going to try to integrate. Like even if they wanted to do a simple push, and that's much safer of information, but you don't have to do anything. The majority of them are faxing today, continue to fax. If you want to send an eFax, either way, we just built in the development. So now we take that fax, strip the information from the PDF, and have that start the order flow instead of an integration. And that was all 120-minute conversation with Nat after, we were floundering kind of like, and then ever since then, it really has picked up.
Yeah,
it's funny, like when
sometimes
you're so dialed
ahead,
in, right?
Alex.
I was just gonna say, sometimes you're so dialed in, it's hard to see outside of like your purview. You have blinders on because that's all you know, and then you just need to bring in somebody else with an outside perspective and crack the whole thing wide open.
Yeah. I called it an outside inside perspective. The
Right,
That's
understand
awesome.
the industry, right?
exactly.
But yeah, but it was definitely a great outside perspective that we
Yeah.
needed. It was, I mean, literally, I'm comfortable with saying we were pretty much dead on the vine. It was like we were trying to, we went to ARM, we went to the different supply chain conferences. Like I was targeting the same people that I consult with typically, where we're having these conversations, but it was really hard to get it across the value, get the value across.
Yeah, and hospital,
It's gonna be harder to
navigate
sell.
from a sales perspective, selling to a hospital is not easy. There's so many different stakeholders. It's not the same
Sales
as getting
cycles forever.
like like if you call it independently owned DME, you can get a hold of the owner. I do it all the time. If you
Right.
call a hospital, you're weaving a web of so many different people with different priorities. It's a totally different animal, and I'm pumped for you guys. I don't know if you know, but I was the first salesperson at Nico Health, so
Oh,
I'm pumped for you guys.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, you
Yeah.
guys are doing a great job. I mean, when Pawcore got acquired by Braintree, I was like one of 10 that didn't convert. And I haven't, it didn't work for us. Like, when you get to know a software so well and you create like specific checks and balances, my issue always with Braintree was it was more of a template. It really wasn't customizable to what we needed, right? For an
We could probably
operation.
talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I could talk about that all day, but I would say where we're really just not to go down a rabbit hole, but feeding off of that point is, Nico Health is really winning in with our API. I would say is a big thing
Yeah.
because we expose most of Nico Health through API. So I would say 5 years ago, everybody was maybe 5 to 10 was more okay with having every single service and solution from one provider. Now, especially we're getting into like health systems, we have to be like a really good hub for all these spokes. So it's not a one size fits all. So being able to do the tough hospital integrations and things like that is helpful. But I like your idea of just meeting the hospital where they are and receiving the facts. It's much
Right?
easier than pitching the
It is.
integration. But at
It
some
is.
point they'll probably want it. But I would say where you're at, lower the barrier of entry for everyone. So
Right. And it is challenging though. I mean, if you've been doing that, like you're dealing with HL7 language.
Yeah.
If you're getting these feeds, the orders you may have an ORN message, and then you need an ADT message to feed all the information that you need to be able to get it. Then you got a batch. So yeah. I mean, we've done it before. Like when I was at OrthoCare, we were doing this before you would really just say there were integrations, right? We were just able to receive orders electronically, and then we were lucky to have a programmer who can map them into the system for us. But I think that approach has been fantastic, though, to not be everything to everyone.
yeah, exactly. You can tell them, hey, you just keep sending the orders the way you're sending them, and we'll do the heavy lift on our end with AI and turn that into whatever we need to do. So I like it.
Right on. Well, I think we can move on to our rapid fire round. That's usually how we close out every podcast. We'll just ask you this or that kind of questions, and then we finish up. Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right, perfect. So we'll start it off. Wait, I'll do this one.
Sure, go for it.
All
These
right,
are easy.
yeah,
No
Okay.
brain
Yeah.
effort.
No,
So,
no, yeah, exactly.
we're trying to make it fun. Remember, this is the fun part. So.
Okay, all right.
Okay. Never use social media again, or never watch TV again.
Never use social media again.
Have super strength or super speed.
Oh, super strength.
Live in a tree house or a houseboat.
Oh, treehouse.
Always have to sing instead of talk, or dance instead of walk.
Oh, dance. All day long.
Unlimited free flights or unlimited free meals at a restaurant.
Ooh. Unlimited free
That's a good one.
flights.
That's a good one. Be stuck in traffic or stuck in a long Zoom meeting.
Stuck in traffic. You at least listen to Spotify.
I know.
Right. Yeah, there you go.
Or
Good
talk
answer.
to windshield time.
That's right. Kerriann, I think that concludes our podcast for today. If anyone wants to get in contact with you or your company, how can they find you?
So our website is proxyhealthpartners.com, and that's probably the easiest way. It has all the information.
Perfect. Well, thanks again for coming. We had a great time today. And
Yep.
anyone who's not subscribed yet to the Claim to Fame podcast, please do so. And yeah, let's close it out. Thanks so much,
Yeah.
Kerriann.
Thank you, guys. It was a pleasure.
All righty. Thank you. Take care.